Welcome, lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. Hi everybody, how are you all doing? Are you being beautifully professional every way and every day that you show up in your dance school? This is what we're going to be talking about today, because there is nothing worse than when someone turns around and says to you, get ready, because I know that you all hate this one. So what do you do in your real job? And in fact, this came up interestingly on a client call today, and we all were moaning and groaning about it. And people were saying, it's so disrespectful when people ask you what your real job is. And unfortunately, the reply I came up with was one of those just slightly hard-hitting replies that I never mean to give, but sometimes it's just the truth. People perceive you and your business the way that they perceive you and your business is a direct reflection of what you are showing them. So if somebody assumes that in your real job, you're a hairdresser because you know how to do hair at exams, I had that one, by the way, once, or if somebody just can't quite take you seriously enough to feel like this is a proper business, then there's something going wrong in what they're experiencing. And, one of the things that, flattered me in the last few years of running my school when I really started to learn about business was some of my parents would turn around to me and say, do you know what, Deborah, what we really love about your school is it's a proper business. It's not just like a little Mickey Mouse club. And this made them feel more secure in my school because they knew that actually I was professional and I was going to take great care of their kids. This wasn't like a little local youth club. It was a proper bona fide, professionally run business. So I have got a whole bunch of things I want to share with you today, and I want you to literally go down and tick this list. So you may want to go back and listen again and write each topic down and just give it a lovely, whacking, great big tick every time you feel, yep, I do this. Or you may give it a little cross if you think, oh gosh, help, like I definitely don't do this. This is a really good point, Deborah. I'm going to think about this. So are you ready? Because I've got quite a few things on my list that I think, and it's not the whole list, like just a few things that I think stand you out as being super professional. So the first thing is, how quickly do you respond to messages or emails? Because I think personally, it should be within 24 hours. If not sooner. The minute it goes past 2 days, people start to think, oh, I'm still waiting for that response. When you get to 3 days, me personally, nowadays, I'm thinking, okay, so they're not that interested. I haven't heard from them. Like, that's got my back up after just 3 days. We don't want anyone's backs up before we've even started our relationship with them. So within 24 hours, you guys need to try and make sure you've got the systems or the staff or yourself into gear so that people are getting pretty much instant replies. Also, I want you to think about your branding. Do you have a really lovely, strong, clear brand? Like, do you use the same fonts every time you create a poster or a flyer or on your website? Do you have the same colors, not just different shades of red? You're using the exact right shade of red. Do you have your logo in various formats so that your logo can appear beautifully on anything where you might want a logo to appear? Is it consistent? Is your brand strong and clear and consistent? Do you have Here's the next one: an email responder, like a signature on the bottom of your emails. Does it have a little photo of yourself, or if not you, your logo with your company or your school's website, email, phone number, address, links to your social media? Like, this is something that you can create and have on the bottom of all of your emails. You don't have to do it. It just automatically comes up when you go to send an email. This is the sort of thing professional companies have. Do you have a certain etiquette that you and your teachers have in terms of social media, or how we behave and we're perceived outside of the studio? So, for example, if you did allow your teachers to be friends with parents and children in your students in your school, is there a certain understanding of what those people are going to post on their personal profiles? This is why I'm not a big lover of anybody from my school having access to my teachers' personal profiles. You don't really want a picture of your drunk drama teacher in his gold hot pants lying in a bath. We don't really want our students seeing this. I'm not saying it shouldn't be happening. I'm just saying it's not what we want our students to see and understand of our teachers. Likewise, the same for you. You may not particularly want someone seeing you, clowning around in your bikini on holiday. So what are your rules? What is your contract with your staff and yourself around social media and what people have access to and what they can see? Always think about the fact people are nosy. They're going to Google you. They're going to search for you. They're going to look you out on Instagram or social media. They're going to go and look for your personal page or profile, and they're going to be checking you out. So we need to be aware of that when we run our own businesses. Another one that's completely different is, do you have really robust systems in place so that when you give out invoices, you always give them out with the same amount of notice every single time? So, for example, what we don't want is, you give out an invoice a month before it's due 1 month, and then the next month or the next term, it goes out 2 days before because you didn't get round to it. Like, that's not very very professional. If you have a little rule that you want invoices to go out 2 weeks before they're due, make sure that happens consistently. Otherwise, it just starts to look a bit Mickey Mouse. Totally different area here. Do you get to know people's first names? And do you greet them when they come for a trial session? And do you get to know the children's names? And do you shake hands with the parent when they first arrive? Hi, my name's Deborah. You must be Sally. So lovely to meet you. And this must be little Emily. Like, have you gone to the bother of learning those names? And if it's not just you in your business, are you training your teachers to do this? It's such a lovely, warm, fuzzy feeling when you're a parent on the receiving end of that. Instantly you think, oh gosh, like, this teacher's obviously been told we're coming. They've bothered to learn our names. They've greeted us confidently with a handshake. Like, people don't shake hands anymore. I think it's so professional. Like, these are all things that I would really be suggesting for you to teach your teachers, and potentially for you to embrace yourself as well. And having a really clear boundary in terms of when people can contact and message you and your teachers, I think is so important, not just for yourself and your own well-being, but also because it makes you look so much more professional. If you say on your website or on social media or on yale.com or wherever you have your office hours that you are available between these times, and then there you are messaging and replying to someone at 6 o'clock in the morning, that starts to show them, okay, they have these boundaries, but they don't really have these boundaries. They say they're going to do this thing, but then they do something different. Like, it starts to confuse people. Now, if you don't mind parents messaging you at any time of the day, that's absolutely fine. Like, that's your prerogative. But if you are busy saying, you cannot message me between these times, these are my boundaries, and then you're not sticking to those, then that's a real kind of contradiction in your own terms. So I thought I would just share with you guys today the planners that I have produced for dance school owners, because these are flying out of Amazon like hotcakes. And if you don't have yours yet, then all you have to do is pop to Amazon and type into the search Deborah Laws, and all 3 books will come up. So the Ultimate Dance Business Planner I designed for you so that you had a little bit of a Deborah on your desktop. The planners are full of business training, tips, motivational quotes, things to do at the start of the month, things to do at the end of the month, ways in which you can plan out your marketing and your retention, and they are selling all over the world. So go to Amazon, grab your #1 best-selling Ultimate Dance Business Planner, and enjoy mapping out the growth for your studio. Now, we're also going to talk a little bit about having one rule for one and one rule for another. I see this happening a lot. Like, parents will say, do you know what? You have to pay by direct debit. We don't have any other means. And then you turn around and for 2/3 of the school or half the school, or maybe 10 people, you say, oh, that's fine. Just put the cash through my office door. Or, oh, well, I don't really do this, but I'll let you do it because they've made a fuss. Like, make sure that you are fair at all times in your school. Don't give somebody a refund because you had a snow day, for example, and then not give it to somebody else. Like, I really think from integrity, get your teeth in, Deborah, that it's important that we are professional and we stand by what we say for one is the same as what we do for all. And that's the same really for your terms and conditions. Like, be really clear on your terms and conditions. Do you have parents sign them when they sign up? Or do they have to tick a box to say that they've read them? Are you really transparent with where your terms and conditions are? And again, if somebody breaks things that are on your terms and conditions, are you making sure that you don't allow those boundaries to be broken and you're addressing those things? Because this is what makes you come across as professional. I also think it's really important, everyone, that your team have training on what your terms and conditions are, and also your boundaries, some of the things we've already spoken about, because it's no good us being highly professional in all these areas if we then don't teach our teachers, because there's nothing worse than you saying, I'm sorry I didn't reply to you, but you messaged me at 10 o'clock at night and I don't look at my phone after 6. But then they messaged your teacher at 10 o'clock at night and she replied, because now they're going to try and get to you around your teachers, and it just looks messy. It looks messy. So whatever it is that you feel is important for the way in which you want to run your school, don't forget, you've got to do the training for your teachers to know these things. And also not just once. Like, you can't really expect to tell your teacher something once and then they never hear it again. But you think, I've told them that. I tick that box. I told my teachers they should be doing this forever. Like, sometimes you have to remind people several times. I think it's lovely as well if you can really make sure that you have got an up-to-date website. Now, I know some of you are already putting your head in your hands and going, oh gosh, Deborah, you've called me out on this one. Like, I know my website's not up to date. I went to do some website reviews back in January as part of my boot camp. One of the days is all about websites and how to create signups within 3 clicks. And I reviewed a couple of websites as a result of this. And there were people's websites that still had 2019 dates on them. And again, full transparency here. Like, I know this was me occasionally, way back in the past. Oh gosh, do the website, put it out there. Okay, it's on the internet. I can go away and forget about it for years now. We can't. No, we can't just go and forget about it. It needs termly, if not monthly, strategy to make sure it's working for you, but more than anything else, to make sure it's regularly updated. And a lot of this is actually because of its performance, like the search engine optimization reasons we need to keep it updated. But in terms of the podcast today and what we're talking about, it's because there's nothing more unprofessional than having really outdated information on our websites. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple more because I couldn't go on all day with these things. I hope you're getting lots of ticks, by the way, folks, not too many crosses. How do you wish for your students to address you and your team? I know this sounds like a strange one, and this, is a completely, there's no right or wrong, there's no black and white. This is down to you, what you want your teachers to be called. I'm a real old fuddy-duddy, like I'm a real traditionalist. I grew up with my teacher being called Mrs. Walter or, Miss Lane. I went to Lane Theatre Arts. We would never have dreamt of calling them by their first names. So when I became a teacher, even as a 19-year-old, I was always, Miss Jones, which is my maiden name, by the way, just in case any of you didn't know that. I would never have been called Deborah by my students, not in a million years, not even Miss Deborah. I was always Miss or Mrs. And that's fine. That was my choice. As I said, it's not right or wrong. Nowadays, I think that's quite rare. Like, I think most of the time nowadays, teachers are called by their first names. So it's up to you entirely. But what's important is that everybody in your team is doing the same. Like, everyone knows how to address you, how to address your teachers, and you don't have a real mixture of different rules, if you like. Again, it starts to be a little bit unprofessional if you're called Mrs. Laws, but then your teacher is just Alex. Like, I think it's really important that you have some clear communication with how your team and yourself are going to be professionally called. And then also around your merchandise and your uniform. Like, this is a biggie for me. Again, being very traditionalist, I had a set uniform and I worked really hard to try and uphold the values of why I liked my students to wear a uniform. But what's really important is that it's spread across the whole school, and that your teachers are doing the same, and that your parents are all on board with this, because there's nothing more unprofessional than a kid turning up and dancing in whatever clothes they like with their hair loose and jewelry on, if that's not part of your values. And I say that very clearly because I know that there are some schools that are more than happy with that. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's part of your school's values and what you're happy with. In my school, I liked the grooming. I liked the set uniform. So for some of the kids not to be in uniform and some in uniform, it showed that, again, that we weren't professionally upholding our own standards. So what are your standards around what kids wear, what they do with their hair, whether they wear makeup, how often they turn up to classes? So long as it's the same, but what's happening is the same as your expectations, that's fine. It's when the two don't marry up that there's a bit of a problem. Now, I could go on and on and on with lots more ways of showing up professionally in your school, but we can't be here all day. And I'm sure that potentially you may have the odd thing that I've spoken about today where you might think, yes, we do this, but maybe not. It's not as tight as it could be. It's not quite to the standard that I'd love it to be. So perhaps I have given you 2 or 3 things today where you think, do you know what? I'm going to go and do a little bit of training on this. Deborah's just made me think a little bit today about how we could come across as being a little bit more professional. Because when you show the world that you are a professional business, you are going to be perceived and treated very differently by your own students and parents and customers. And hopefully we don't get too many more. What's your real job, Deborah? Okay, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I really look forward to speaking to you all again on the next episode of the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. So I wanted to quickly tell you a little bit about Showtime Circus. This is run by my good friend Jess, who has created an incredible circus bolt-on franchise for your dance school. Because aerial and circus performance skills has become a really desirable skill set for choreographers and casting directors. And so Showtime Circus offers the opportunity to buy a franchise package, which will give you all of your necessary equipment, training from experienced staff, syllabus plans, ongoing support, and business support to launch your new franchise. It will really energize your school with increased revenue streams, new student opportunities, and of course, bring all the fun of the circus to your school. So do go and visit showtimecircus.co.uk to find out what the new buzz is around circus skills.